Casey's Corner, introducing you to small businesses in the East Valley. Brought to you by Prosperity North Advisors, a Kendall insurance agency, protecting your prosperity.
Hello, everyone. Casey Kendall, Prosperity North Advisors, a Kendall insurance agency, protecting your prosperity. Joining me today, Rob Elder, Wallick and Volk, mortgage brokers. Rob, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
I understand that you are a veteran, 6 years in the Navy. Appreciate your service. Thank you very much for that. Well, Rob, let's just kind of jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you ended up in Arizona, how you got into the mortgage business, and what you're doing right now with Wallick and Volk.
Okay. So after getting out of the military, a short stint back into college, decided it was time to start making money. And I ended up starting in the car business, and ultimately in a short time went into management, and ultimately in the finance director position, where I spent the majority of 23 years.
Wow.
So a long time in that profession, helping people, which is what I like doing. And when my wife decided to move to Arizona, then we made that transition, and a friend of mine called me that's a branch manager in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm not sure." He wants to do mortgages. And I'm like, "I don't know anybody." And so ultimately I got licensed in a couple weeks, and that was over 4.5 years ago.
Wow.
And it's been nonstop ever since. And, going from finance in one direction of automotive to mortgages, it's all helping people. It's all finance.
Yeah, it all translates the same. You're speaking the same language, talking about the same things, debt and ratios and those types of things. Talk to us about, obviously the market is a constant evolution, and it's changed quite a bit in a rapid amount of time. But talk to us about how you see it right now, how you're working with your clients, especially in that flip of a buyer's market, so to speak.
Well, I'll touch one thing real quick with Wallick and Volk and the Elder team. Wallick and Volk is the largest family-owned private mortgage company in the country.
Wow.
And I say that also this year celebrating 90 years. So when you're talking about a changing market, a changing atmosphere, a changing economy, Wallick and Volk has been there through thick and thin, up and down, and has done nothing but get stronger and start new branches. So when you talk about the market shifting, back, let's just say 2.5, 3 years ago, it changed quickly then too, right? And everything was just going crazy. And now we're experiencing where seemingly overnight per se, not necessarily, but pretty rapidly, changing from a seller's market to arguably a balanced market. In some aspects, I think it still leans towards a seller market. But, we have to have the team, we have to have the experience, we have to have the knowledge and the tools to be able to transition quickly. And I'm proud that Wallick and Volk has that. Being a privately owned company, our closers, our processors, our underwriters, at some point or another, I've met them, I know them, I've seen them face to face. I'm not dealing with somebody on the phone. So all in all, we're a team. We're not just a company, but we're a team.
Yeah, very much like the car industry. It is centered around people.
Correct.
and how you can help them and how you're working with them. But let's really talk about I want to take a step back. Let's talk about how you can help somebody in their mortgage and what that looks like to them right now. But then I want to talk about how you work with your partners and the value you can bring with that. And then talk about like ideas for equity and those types of things. So thinking about the products or services that Wallick and Volk offer, talk to us about some of those tools and lending options that you have.
Sure. So, what I like to do is I first want to establish a relationship per se, and you can do that in short term. But I want to know their wants, their needs, what's important to them, so that we can pick the right product. I mean, we have when it comes to residential lending, we have pretty much any program that is needed to accommodate everybody's certain situation, whether it be self-employed, whether it be manufactured home, whether it be a single wide that you pay lot rent on. Not many people can do that. We can. To your standard, conventional FHA, VA, USDA, which is rural development. Not many people know about that.
Yeah, what would be a qualification for a USDA? That's raw land. Would that be somewhere in like a Florence or a Coolidge type of situation?
It's a property that's actually in the county, because there's city and then there's county. Just like a lot of places in Gilbert have county pockets.
Oh, okay.
So it's based on the address.
I've heard the Gilbert Town Council talk about, that school was built, and at the time that was a county area or a pocket.
And a lot of it, USDA will work much like VA, where you have 100% financing. So there's different aspects to it, but it's all address based. So you gotta check with the USDA website to see if it even qualifies. But that's just one area that not a lot of people talk about or know about.
Sure.
But that's something that we have to offer, especially in, like in Wyoming, where, there's a lot more rural property in the county that's not in city limits that qualify. So that's just one thing. But, VA, I'm a veteran. So
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
My slogan is for a veteran, from a veteran. You notice I mentioned them before me.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of my motto. And I like to say that I specialize in VA loans. And I've done a plethora of them with being attached to the VA, to the base in Wyoming, right there in the hometown. That there's a lot of military right there. So I've been well versed in that. And so I have a special part in my heart, if you will, for veterans.
Absolutely.
And have a special connection there. Not to say that there's any less of a connection with my other clients, because I like to say that I treat everybody like family, just like Wallick and Volk is family. That mindset follows through to the clients, so you have a better relationship with them. But yeah, we if there's a will, there's a way, and we have a program for it.
That's awesome. So let's talk about where the rubber has met the road. I mean, we've seen the market shift. We've seen prices lower. We've seen rates go up. I think there has been some stabilization as well. But let's talk about working with a partner, and that could be a realtor who is either an experienced realtor or somebody who is looking to get into real estate. What can you do, being in that partner role, help them grow their business?
Sure. So I'm always interested and excited about working with a new realtor, new partner per se. I like to use partner versus realtor, but anyway, to be able to develop a relationship to where we both together can strategize, not just me worrying about the lending side, not just the realtor worrying about the purchase or listing side per se, but being able to strategize between the two of us to where we have and come up with a common denominator of what is best for the client, and having that same conversation with the client. More often than not, on the realtor, the partner's behalf and the client, I'm calling listing agents to explain what's going on and what we have and the strength of the deal. And a lot of times they're like, and you're calling from who? You're the realtor, you're the lender? And I never get the lender calling me. So it's doing those kinds of things on the behalf of the buyer's agent to show the strength of our offer. And the other thing is, strategizing with the realtor to what that offer might look like as far as concessions to buy down the rate. That's happened a lot right now too.
Sure.
The rate is just a number, and numbers, eventually change. So how can we best structure that loan or that offer to best fit the client's needs? Because that's what's ultimately important.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you think about where different people are at with just life in general, everybody's going to have something different that they're either trying to pay off debt, trying to leverage it to buy a separate property altogether, and pretty much anything in between. So you can't have that shotgun or cookie cutter approach to it. Are there some specific ways or areas that when you're working with a realtor, a partner, that you can help them? Whether that's database management, their marketing, those types of things.
Right. So when I first started, I was fortunate enough to, right out of the gate, took on 2 assistants. When they talk about wanting to scale, you need to have help. And so before my very first client, I have 2 assistants. And so one of them does specifically marketing and social media and realtor relationships. So I have that part that Sarah does that she's phenomenal with. We, as Wallick and Volk, have tools that the elder team provides that realtor partner at zero expense for a CRM database that's shared. They give their database per se to us in a shared database that we both can see and look at. That's theirs, but it's in our system that we can and they can market to, stay in touch with, keep track of birthdays, anniversaries, that kind of thing. That tool is free. In addition to that, we have a system that will track those clients and their mortgage, in the real estate, the values, the equity, the rate, to where it'll let us know, to where we have tools as a partnership to be able to best fit and help that client, how they can know that when's the right time to see what equity they have. In addition to the mortgage reviews that I do, but also how can the realtor help them leverage their equity to purchase another property that's going to continue to make them money and expand their financial portfolio. So that's in part of being a team, and what other things that I'm bringing to the table to help them get additional business while they work on today's business. I will help them work on tomorrow's business.
Okay, so if I heard everything correctly on this, you essentially will help them and create a plan that can take their current database, continue to market to it, track equity, and give alerts to say, hey, call this person because now they're sitting on a bucket of money that they could leverage.
Correct.
Wow. Okay, so that's amazing. And I think that when you step into a market this way, and you really have to understand, is the cream going to rise to the top here? And when the dust settles, not to throw out too many cliches in a row, but when the dust settles, who's going to be left standing? And you have to have not only the right partners around, but the right tools in place for that long-term growth.
Correct. We, in addition to that CRM part, we also have a program that we call right now is called Cash to Win. And that is Wallick and Volk's program, where we bring to the table an aspect to the client, because everybody knows that cash is king. That's what we call it in the car business.
Sure.
Cash is king. And here it's called cash to win, where in any part of the market, whether it's a seller's market, a balanced market, or a buyer's market, cash is still always going to be king. So the seller is going to usually pay more attention to that cash offer than they will the ones that are mortgaged or financed.
Sure.
So we, Wallick and Volk, the client works with their realtor, our partner, and they determine what the house, the market is on it, what they want to offer on it, how they want to do the offer. We strategize with them on that offer. And then we, as Wallick and Volk, make a cash offer on their behalf. And it's true cash. We provide Wallick and Volk's bank statement that shows that it's actual cash. It's not a line of credit that we're paying out of. It's our money that we're putting on the line for the client to get a cash offer accepted where, let's face it, if it's a balanced market or a buyer's market, it allows you to make less of an offer because it's cash. The seller might pay more attention to it than they will someone that's financed because of the rates. They may be nervous if that person actually qualifies. Let's go ahead and take this lower offer because it's cash. And then we can, in turn around within 2 weeks and close their loan.
And essentially refund it.
Correct.
Like fund it again.
Correct.
So can you give me a situation in which that might be applicable? Because I think I've never heard anything like that. And I think the only thing that I can really try to wrap my head around that is if my house hasn't sold yet or I haven't closed escrow in the sale of my house for the next purchase. Is that a typical scenario?
That part, which we also offer, is called the trailing property.
Okay.
So during the hype of the seller's market, the last 2.5 years, say, cash offers were getting accepted left and right, and people that were financing, in a lot of cases, didn't have a very good chance. So this cash to win program was good for them because they can put in a cash offer on the house they're buying after they've been pre-qualified. They're pre-approved. They're not just pre-qualified. We've looked at their documents. We've verified their funds, verified their job, done our due diligence up front. So then when we make the cash offer to buy their house they want to buy, it gets accepted. We send the check. We close the loan within 6, 7 days, 10 days. And then we complete their original loan through us to buy their house in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Now, the scenario you're talking about, I just had.
The trailing
property where we had a client that their house was under contract with a contingency to sell their house. They were under contract on the new house to purchase where we were financing. And partway through, the buyers that were buying their house dropped out of the contract and they needed funds to close on their new house. Wallick and Volk came in and bought their house. So now they have the funds to close on their new house.
Wow.
We use the original listing agent to sell the property for us. So the agents, it's a win-win for the buyer's agent, the listing agent. If we do the cash to win program for the buyer's agent, they get paid in 6, 7, 10 days, not 30 or 45. So that's a win, right? And then the listing agent, because we buy the house at a little bit less, let's face it, a little bit less than what the market is.
Sure.
Because it's all our risk. So they don't get paid on that lower price. They get paid on the higher list price that it finally sells for. So all the risk is on Wallick and Volk, not on the agents.
Wow. Talk to us. I've heard you speak. I've heard your networking commercial on several different occasions. But talk to us about price versus value. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So any professional that's in the business, whether you're on the realtor side or the lender side, that take an extreme personal value in knowing what's going on. You try to listen to different webinars and different economists and professionals in the business and real estate that have been doing it for a long time and seen the ups and downs. And so from that, my personal opinion, and I talk to people about this every day, that, they say the prices are home values are coming down, prices are coming down, homes are dropping. Well, what's really happening is, in what you're talking about, there's a difference between home prices coming down and values coming down.
Okay.
So home prices are, in today's market, realtors are having to do more due diligence, and they're having to do a little more comp work, if you will,
Sure.
and getting a certified market analysis of what the value is and what the house should be listed at. And for those that are not doing that, and they're just, maybe using a comp and then pricing it over value per se, because houses were bringing that before. They're not now as much. So they need to be more meticulous on what they're pricing the property at. And those that aren't doing that, the house sells, right? But it sells for less than list price. So in that scenario, it looks like prices are coming down, right? Because they're selling for less. Well, they're not being priced properly, if you ask me. Now, on the flip side of that, you talk to people that all they do are track this business in equity and market, and quite honestly, they're all saying that the market at equity, homes are still gaining equity, 3 to 6%, and will continue to do so. They're not gaining 15, 20% like they were. So are values coming down, or are prices coming down? Values are still gaining, not at the same percentage, but they're still gaining. But prices are coming down because they're having to price it more in the market.
Interesting.
People are not paying over value. They're not doing appraisal gap waivers where they don't care what it appraises for because they're paying cash, and they'll just pay the extra $50,000 over what it appraised for. If they're financing it, pay the difference and finance the rest, right? That's not happening anymore. So it's just being smart about the market and knowing the difference. So
Anticipation versus a reactive
Correct.
model. Absolutely. Let's shift gears a little bit. And I want to talk about the person who takes out the mortgage, the mortgagee. Is that what
Correct.
it's referred to? Okay, so the mortgagee is going to borrow that money. That's a scary process. And sometimes it involves a lot of technology. Sometimes it involves, every time it's going to involve some type of credit check or gathering of information, so to speak. So talk to us about how you can help and really what separates you from anybody else who is in the mortgage industry.
I would say, again, in my opinion, I take a more of a personal approach to it. I think some people will deal with lenders that are, in my opinion, telemarketers. They're on the phone, whereas I'll drive an hour to go to somebody's house to help them if they're not technology inclined to go online and get a bank statement. So I'm not asking them to trust me over the phone and give me their logins.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
I'm willing to go to their house to help them, sit down with them, spend 3 hours with them, get on the phone with them with their bank or with a credit card company if we need to get a zero balance letter. Whereas
Whoa. What the heck is a zero balance letter? Because I've never heard that term. However, I do remember writing letters on my own behalf of, dear creditor, Casey's not a deadbeat. Signed, Casey. Is that the letter that you're referring to?
a zero balance letter is, say, when we pull their credit and say they have 1, 2, or 3 accounts that maybe they just paid off, but they may have had a minimum monthly payment of $72.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you take 3 of those collectively, it could fall them above the 50% threshold for debt ratio. So in that case,
Which that would essentially then put them out of qualifying for the mortgage.
right. And
Okay.
so in some cases, a lender might tell them, okay, hey, you need to pay these off. Well, I've already paid them off. Okay, well, I need you to get me proof. Well, who knows better how to get proof than me? I'm not going to leave it to your own device unless truly you're like, yeah, no problem. I know how to do that. Not only am I going to give you the terminology of you need a zero balance letter. Well, what is that? Well, it's simply just that. You got to get a hold of your credit card company, which we all know is very hard to do, and a lot of
Yes.
times people give up. Well, I don't give up, and I'll be the one to get on the phone. If I'm in my office, I'll get on the phone until I get the person I need, and then I'll conference you in. So you're not taking your time to do it. I'm taking my time to do it. And then I can explain to the other person on the other line what we need. And I can get that literally, typically, in some cases, within 10, 15 minutes, and sometimes within 24 hours.
Wow.
Instead of somebody telling them on the phone, well, I'll get it to you by mail, you'll get it within,
6 to 8 weeks. Yeah.
Nobody's got time to deal with that, and clients get frustrated. Well, my job is to take the stress and the frustration out of the buying process and make it easier and make it more seamless. And that's what I'm willing to do. So it's just stepping outside the box and being more of a relationship lender.
I had actually forgotten about that letter writing process until you had mentioned it to me in a previous conversation where I remember typing that letter out and saying and dropping it off at the post office and waiting. I don't even think I ever heard back. It just kind of changed, maybe.
Right. And so in that regard, when it comes to helping somebody with their credit, we've gone through the process, get an application. I let them know what the steps to the sale are. We pull the credit, get all their documents, find out that there's something on their credit, or maybe two things on their credit that A, might be bringing their score down just below where it needs to be, or their debt ratio, or what have you. And so something needs to be done to correct that.
Sure.
Well, instead of telling them, hey, go call this number for credit repair, and they'll help you, I will take more of the proactive approach. I'm very familiar with that credit repair process. And so instead of just leaving it to their own devices and having them deal with, again, the frustration and aggravation of calling and talking to somebody they don't know, where at this point they know me, then I will call the credit reporting company that we deal with. I will get a dispute letter. I will help them fill it out. I will in turn send it back to the Cisco, for example, credit reporting, and they will submit it out, of which have 30 days to respond.
So that'll include all of the account numbers and possibly balances and
Correct.
all the applicable information to make a serious impact on that account and how it's reported.
Correct.
Whether it's completely eliminated or shown at zero.
Correct.
Okay.
I also want to mention when it comes to that we briefly talked about before was paying off collections. A lot of times people think they're doing a great thing, especially when we're qualifying for the mortgage, or they're getting ready to qualify, and they say, well, I've got this. First of all, we don't look at medical collections, so don't waste your money paying them off right now. I'm not saying don't ever pay them off, but don't pay them off right before we do to qualify for a mortgage, because what happens is if you haven't had interaction with that account, say that account or that collection has been stagnant for 2, 3, 4 years,
Sure.
and you in turn go to pay, it brings that account active from today, which is going to affect your credit score. Instead of it being a 4-year-old account, now it's today.
Now it's brand new.
Right.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes. And
That's crazy.
and then also when you're paying off a collection, you don't want to pay off a collection. Again, when we're in this mortgage process or pre-qual process, you don't want to pay off a collection, A, without negotiating, B, without getting a pay for delete letter. So what that means is they have $1,000 collection. Most everybody knows that majority of that is fees. So you negotiate and say, look, I will send you $500 to to pay that collection off. In return, you send me a pay for delete letter so I can get it removed from my credit. They say, okay, that's fine. Make them email you the pay for delete letter first. Then you pay it. You send me the receipt that you paid it, the pay for delete letter. I will send it to credit reporting and get it removed.
Wow. Okay. So my brain is going crazy right now, Rob. I've learned a tremendous amount. And so I'm thinking about all the times that, maybe I skipped one or hey, 2 or 3 years ago, those types of things. And having that information, I think, is so completely invaluable. That's amazing. Rob, where is your office located? How can people get a hold of you? And what's the best way for someone to find you?
So my office is in Mesa. It's basically on Stapley in the 60 behind Chick-fil-A there, second floor. You can find me. Rob Elder is my personal page. Therefore, you can get a feel of who I am, and I'm not posting crazy pictures and who I am as a person. And then Rob Elder Loans is my Facebook ID for Rob Elder, the Elder team. On there, you'll see my biography. You'll see my contact info, my email, robert.elder@wvmb.com. My cell phone number is Wyoming because, again, we're in Arizona and everybody's from somewhere.
That's right.
So my cell phone is real easy. It's 307-631-1200.
Nice.
Easy to remember.
Yeah.
That
means there's only 1,199 other phone numbers in all of Wyoming.
If you want to look me up and have a hard time, you remember I do a lot in Gilbert, but call the Gilbert Chamber. They'll want the Elder team.
Absolutely.
They'll help you out. So there's many different ways to find me. I try to be out there and be visible. And again, it's my whole business is how I can help you, not how you can help me.
That's awesome. Last question. How many times during a football season do you get mistaken for Bruce Arians?
It's funny you say that because I used to have some, and he used to wear some dark rim glasses.
Sure.
And I used to as well. I used to have, now I got bifocals, right? So I don't have 3 or 4 different pairs because I'm not going to pay for all that. But yeah, I have heard that more than once.
I bet. I bet. Rob Elder, thank you very much. Wallick and Volk, Rob Elder, working with veterans, working with new home buyers, investors. This has been enlightening. I can honestly say that with these market changes, if you're not implementing a lot of the strategies that Rob is talking about, then you might be in for a few surprises. And I appreciate you coming down and your perspective and everything you've shared with us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. It's been an honor to be here and just share some knowledge, if you will, and what I have to offer. And with Realtor Partners, I have a few other things that are list reports or Zudilio things that I haven't mentioned. But get a hold of Rob and the Elder team and allow me just to present something to you.
Absolutely. I will make sure that all of your contact information is completed, and we'll push this out. I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
If you'd like to be featured on Casey's Corner, please like, subscribe, share this podcast and video. Thanks very much. Have a great day.